All right. Hey, Vikings fans. Welcome into another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer, talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. And we've got Forrest joining us again today for the third episode in a row. And Evan, you brought a melange of beers from Lion Bridge Brewing.
I sure did.
But we're also going to talk about the beer we brewed last Saturday in your garage. Yeah. What a day.
Super fun. Excited to taste that hopefully soon. We also played a game. You might have seen the trend floating around there where you select different things at different price points and you have a budget. So we did that with Vikings players. So we put a grid of Vikings players, all-time great Vikings players together. The three of us actually did a little draft. I was pretty pumped with how my team turned out. So yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then we kind of wrapped things up talking about the current state of the NFL, some Vikings rumors and talkers and stuff like that. It was a good time.
So, grab your favorite cold beverage and let's listen.
Skol.
Hail.
All right, we're going to take just a quick minute to thank our show sponsor, Big Top Ventures, for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking to take an all-inclusive trip to Mexico or Jamaica, we're going to put their email right down here at the bottom of the screen. Send them an email at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Let them know when you're looking to go on a trip and what you're interested in doing, and they'll get back to you with the best possible rate on that vacation. So hit them up.
And just to say it again, I'm going in May. Couldn't be more excited.
You keep reminding us.
Yeah.
I probably could be more excited. Did you know that I'm going in May? And then July. Big Top Ventures is, they're what's up. So yeah, reach out to them. They're good people.
Yes, indeed.
Feels like you should be part of, aren't you like an owner by now?
Not an owner.
Oh, okay.
A good friend. A
good friend. He is a good friend. He is a good guy.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to get into some beer here, and I just had the urge to say beer here.
Beer here.
Beer man here.
It is spring training has started, so baseball's right around the corner.
Nobody cares about it.
Anyways, we're a football podcast, specifically a Vikings podcast. I brought Lion Bridge today. This is Lion Bridge's Compensation English Mild Ale. This is another one of those beers, Austin. I told you this about that Stupid Cake dessert sour beer a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is one of those that's been staring me down on the shelf, and I've looked at it probably 10 times, and I'm like, one day I'm going to get that. Well, boys, today is that day.
Did you notice that, according to the can, this is a 2-time winner of, what does it say, the American Beer Festivals?
Yes.
It's a 2-time gold winner, apparently in 2014, 2016. I have yet to have this, Forrest. Have you tried this one yet before?
I have had this. It's a beer. It's good. It's malty. I think you'll love it.
I'm excited. I mean, just like anything Lion Bridge ever puts out, I'm always, I don't want to say surprised because it's not like I think it's going to be terrible, but it's always like really good. I haven't had this one yet. I'm really excited to try it.
Yeah. So we're going to crack these open, pour them up, give them a shot here. I just saw something on my glass.
Oh, no.
That didn't look appetizing, so I'm going to make sure that's good and not on my glass.
While you do that, this is a good dark color. The can describes it as malty, toasty, caramel, and just from that color, that all makes sense. I haven't smelled it or tasted it yet, but yeah, good color, great head retention if you have a good pour like me. And yeah, pretty hazy. You're not seeing through it, just dark looking. I'm really excited.
All right, let's Skol it up.
Careful.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That's exactly what I was anticipating, judging by the description on the can. It's really good. Just a dark, solid color, a beer, but like a good dark beer.
Yeah, great sweetness flavor to it. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Good job, Lion Bridge. I really enjoy that one.
Yeah, I especially appreciate like the maltiness of it. It's kind of toasted-esque.
It's simple. Simple but delicious.
Yeah, I got this because it's in a similar vein to the brown ale that we're brewing right now.
That is
it's
correct.
Actively fermenting at this point. So we spent last weekend brewing it, and actually this is our third episode with you on.
I know.
This is
you're
awesome.
getting tired of me.
Third episode in a row. So we spent a couple weeks ago, if you're curious about the brew process, go back to episode 79. We had Forrest on before we brewed. Forrest, you brought some grain with you. We were able to kind of get the initial sense of what this brown ale that we're brewing will taste like, just based on the smell of the grains. And then last week in episode 80, we actually brewed the beer. We were on location in Austin's garage.
That was so much fun, guys.
That was a lot of fun.
I had a blast. It was a longer day, and we might talk about it too, but it was still really good. It was a great day.
Yeah.
Any day you're drinking beer, making beer, hanging out with good friends. Solid Saturday.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we figured we'd have you on one more time just to kind of recap the brew day, which is what we plan on doing here in just a minute, and also talk about kind of what we're looking forward to with this beer that we brewed, and talking about all the little things that happened kind of along the way in the brew day. I mean, in short, spoiler alert, I think it was a pretty successul day, right?
Yeah,
So far.
Yeah, I
I
think everything was good on Brew Day. If you listen to the episode, we were all excited with kind of the numbers that were coming out. And then it's fermenting right now in Austin's basement, so I think things are going well there.
Yeah, absolutely. Last week on the Brew Day episode, I mentioned looking back to last year's brew day, how there was a point with the original Skol hop beer that we were doing that brew day 2024, and then we looked at final numbers, and you were like jubilant. You let out a touchdown worthy cheer in 2024, and you basically did the same thing at one point last week for this new Skol hop beer. I shouldn't say Skol hop. It's a beer by Forrest with the Skol hop. I don't know. We don't have a name for it yet.
It's a collab effort.
Yep.
We're still looking for a name.
Yeah.
I'm hoping someone in your audience, has this just great idea.
Give us a good name. We've tried Chat GPT. They've probably spit out 40, 50 options for us so far.
I'd say maybe 2 or 3 were like, okay.
Yeah, there's only a few that were all right, but yeah, we need a good name for this because we can't drink it without a name.
No, that's an ultimate sin right there. So.
And we've already used the Skol hop because that was 2024's beer. Mm-hmm. So we called that one the Skol hop, Hoppy Amber.
Yeah, we got the
bottles
bottle over here there
on display. We'll probably bottle. Well, no, we won't bottle these ones, I don't think.
Although I think it'd be cool to make another bottle
commemorative.
Yeah, not even fill it up. Just make
we could definitely still make
slap it on an empty bottle.
Label.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll do that, and we'll maybe start a little collection, annual collection of these.
I did realize I fully intended last year on having one of those bottles just up in my basement. I believe they're all here.
Oh, well, you both need to take one tonight because I think I have all of them. They're literally right under this in the bar. They've just been sitting here. Some of them might be like a little moldy, but that's all right.
I would say for me, I mean, it's cool to have it on the bottle, but just having the actual label and everything, and then you can just kind of make like a little poster of,
that's true.
of the different things. That's probably what I'll do.
And we've got plenty more of the labels, and we can print as many.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah. Where were we? We were just at Radical Effects in Rock Island.
Yeah. And
in the pool room with the darts and the pool table, have you noticed the one wall they have?
Absolutely.
I don't even know if it's their beers, but they've got a whole artwork wall of framed logos.
Correct.
For famous beers.
Yeah, it's not theirs necessarily. So yeah, I've seen a lot of breweries where they do those things where they'll either paint it or they'll just take the label off the can or the bottle and just have a whole wall. Or it's really cool what bars and breweries come up with. It used to be with just singled out bottles, you'd have the caps and they'd actually have a logo on the cap, and I've seen bar tops with just those, and You just get creative and everything. So
yeah, maybe we need to do that. Make up at least 3 frame-worthy logos of last year's beer, and then once we figure out a name, we can whip up a logo and make it up for this year's beer too. So, and then you got to sign it for us. You're the master brewer.
We'll all sign it. We're all part of this. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the beer is going to be probably done fermenting, probably in another week or so. And then we need to just decide when we're kegging it. So,
So as a reminder, have we said it in the last few minutes what kind of beer we're brewing?
I don't think we have.
Okay.
You want to remind them?
Well, Forrest, you're the expert on this beer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so we're making a nut brown ale, or we did make a nut brown ale, really technically. So it's going to be hopefully measuring about 5.5% alcohol. Very similar, very malty. Has a nice sweetness to it, but not overly powering. And then it has a little hop in the background, but nothing too bitter as well. So yeah, really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited. As you were saying that, I went to look and see what this Lion Bridge compensation had listed for their ABV, and I can't see it on the can. Evan, I think you're...
I'm Googling it right now, so I'll see if I can find something here.
But I feel like for these darker beers, that 5 to 6% is about where it is. Evan, you just pulled it up. It says 4.5 on Untapped is what it's listing this Lion Bridge beer at, which is pretty solid. I mean, 4.5 is on the higher end of what you'd be looking for ABV wise of like, a Bud Light, a Coors Light, some of those,
Sometimes you just want to grab a nice beer that you can have several of and not have to worry so much about the ABV. So
yeah, absolutely.
There's always a time in room in your fridge for some of those lower ABVs that still punch a lot of good flavor in there. So
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's like you said, a time and a place. I feel like having a whole evening, if you could put back 6 beers next to the fire and still wake up the next morning feeling perfectly fine, that's kind of exactly what a 4.5-5% is. Correct. In my mind. So if our Skol hop, whatever we end up naming it, nut brown ale, and I get they're not exactly the same.
Yeah, there's differences, but overall, I would say our beer should model this very similarly. It's an English style, and that nut brown ale is kind of an English-inspired ale as well. So
yeah. So if ours tastes even in the same neighborhood as this, Forrest, you hit a home run with your recipe.
The pressure is on.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise, we'll just grab more of this stuff.
Yeah, we can. Well, nobody will know. Thanks, Lion Bridge. We'll just get another 6-pack and then pour it in our own.
This must be a pretty popular one at Lion Bridge because I see it on the shelves.
They make this, I believe, year round.
And I mean, of course they would. It's a 2-time gold medal winning beer.
Like I said, I think I mentioned it the other episode is. There's nothing wrong with, the IPAs and the hazies and everything else that we've seen over the last several years. You're really starting to see more basic beer come back on the shelves. People, I mean, I hate to call it basic beer, but what everyone knows what a beer originally was. Like and that's what you're starting to see a lot more on the shelves. So it's kind of fun to watch these breweries change and what they're brewing. So
and that warms my heart because I've been telling Austin pretty much since we started this podcast 1.5 years ago, like I just want a beer that doesn't try to do too much.
Right.
I want just your good old tastes like a beer like you would have with your grandpa or your dad on the back porch. That's what I'm looking for. And it's not that I don't like the triple dry hopped, amazing, juicy, whatever, or the sour stuff, has really taken off too. Those are great, and I've had those. I like those. I don't mind them, and I can appreciate the craft behind that. But I don't know. This is just what I gravitate towards. Something simple, something refreshing.
There's room for all of it on a shelf. So
absolutely. And Forrest, you said this a bunch of times about those. I feel like we're trying to dance around what exactly to call these kinds of beers. Yeah, like traditional, because we don't want to say simple. Yeah,
I don't want to. Lion Bridge, I didn't mean your beer is basic.
Yeah,
it's just a nice, easy drinking beer that I would imagine has just the 4 basic ingredients to a beer. But
like I said, you've said this at countless times, when you have a beer like this, you kind of have to make it well. You have to do it right, because there's not enough crazy flavors to hide any mistakes that you might make.
That is exactly what it is.
That's a good point.
And this, it's probably not as simple in some terms, because like you said, you have to hit your numbers to make a beer this tasty.
Yeah, and to that point, to pat you on the back a little bit.
Well, we haven't had ours yet.
Yeah,
So.
well, we've tasted the non-alcoholic version of it so far, the wort, and we've experienced it to what it is so far, and everything we've seen.
Everything shows that it should be a good beer.
Yeah, yes. I'm really excited for it.
So am I, for sure. Any just final recap thoughts that we had on the brew day? Austin, you mentioned the fist pump celebration that Forrest had. We even pointed it out live, kind of in the moment. That was just a moment of success in the process,
and that was me just how I am when I do beer. I basically forgot you were doing recording. I was just so excited that the beer was turning out. So
yeah, it would be one thing if you reacted like, oh good, we're in the neighborhood of the right numbers, guys, which that's not how you react. You were like, yes, let's go. I feel like I heard you say Skol at one point. I don't know.
Definitely did not do that.
I do think there was one thing, not necessarily a mistake we made, but kind of a decision we made that we probably feel like we won't do again. It was pretty cold out.
Yes.
Pretty cold out when we did that brew day. And rather than rapidly cool it down with the chiller that you have, the immersion chiller that you have, we decided, and I'll take the fall for this because I think I was the first one to say it, to just kind of go stick it in the snow and let the outside cool it down and then stir it and make sure it was good.
I honestly thought it was cool faster than it did.
It took 2 hours or over an hour to cool.
Because, we packed snow around the outside of it, and your yard just looked like something giant just landed in your yard. Is crazy. Crater. But yeah, I was probably I was a little selfish, man, I don't want to have to clean another thing. So I was thinking it was cool fast enough, and it cooled. It wasn't like we were waiting hours upon hours.
Yeah,
but
I think it was over an hour.
It was probably over an hour.
When with that immersion chiller, it's usually 15, 20 minutes, and you're down to 70 degrees. Something like that.
So
it allowed us to clean up some other stuff, have a few beers.
That's true.
We cleaned out the inside of a few beer cans. We definitely did that. And that's okay. The beer you brew doesn't count if you didn't drink a few beers on the way. So and it definitely counts. I can officially claim that the beer we brewed counts based off of how many beers we drank that day. So
I felt like the process was a lot smoother than it was even last year. Now, I was just the documentarian and taking pictures and video. I also took time-lapse video that probably will never be viewed by anybody because I ended up taking probably about 20,000 individual pictures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that file was probably bigger than the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe would be as far as memory goes. So
yeah, I don't know that any computer has the processing power to put all those together in a functional time lapse.
I don't know, man. You got an M1 Mac over here.
Oh, trust me, I tried.
Maybe we just need to upgrade.
Yeah. With all that Skol Hop money we're making.
Yeah.
I was going to say, though,
shout out Big Top Ventures.
The brew day went really smooth. I think, obviously, Austin and I have done this a few times together, so we have a pretty good feel of how we operate, and it never hurts to have an extra set of hands. But also, your garage is a great setting. It's open enough where we can move around. So yeah, just
got water. Water available quickly.
We got the water spigot right in the garage. I also had the garage probably better set up this year than we did last year. I kind of cleared some more clutter out.
You learn through just going through it multiple times. So,
but importantly, it was brewed in the state of Iowa. It is fermenting in the state of Iowa, which there's probably a gray area line on that, but it is being fully produced in the state of Iowa, which means we can drink it on the podcast.
And drink it, we will.
Oh yes, we will
drink it. We will.
We will reevaluate our seating arrangement and who is sitting closest to the keg when we do drink this version of the beer, which will probably be sometime in, I don't know, April or May or so, whenever, because we did it May or something last year.
Late April, early May.
Our actual like beer tapping event. So
yep.
We will be more strategic about that this coming time.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
But I can't wait for that. I think the beer is going to be great. Hopefully it's still just a touch chilly outside in the evening when we drink it, because I feel like the darker flavor beers, they just hit better.
They do.
When it's a little chilly. When you got a sweatshirt on. I think it was beautiful the day that we did it.
You couldn't have asked for better weather that night, but it was on the warmer side of things. It wasn't cold. I think in like shorts and a t-shirt. So yeah, you can't complain about the weather we had last year, but I agree with you. It's those nights where it's just a little cold. You want the long sleeves and you want to be like close to the fire to feel the warmth of it. And that's when this kind of beer hits the best.
It hits, and it could be a 2%er and it would still hit the best. So Forrest, any closing thoughts on the actual brew day or the process since we've finished the brew day?
No, I think we've hit all the points. I think now it's just a matter of getting in that keg, let it carbonate, and then tasting the fruits of our good work.
Yep. I will say my basement is probably a shade chilly for the temperature that it needs to ferment at. So you did have a nice like heated wrap that goes around it.
Different yeasts work at different temperatures. So originally, obviously, it had enough sugar to eat, so it was actively going for the first few days, and then we just put a heat wrap on it, raised it up at 3 degrees, and it started going again. So just give a little helping hand to that yeast.
I sent you guys a couple 10-second videos of the airlock just bubbling up with the carbon dioxide. So we're getting there.
It's working. That's a good thing. Well, we will definitely feature the beer at some point. We're not entirely sure when that's going to be yet, but we will certainly have Forrest back for that episode. We will try it together for the first time.
Absolutely.
Right here.
Oh, you haven't tried it yet?
It's like half gone, probably in Austin's basement.
Yeah, it's talking about 2%, but it's doing its job.
It's 2% left.
Well, yes, I was hoping you wouldn't pick up on
Austin's trying to replicate it before we catch up.
They'll never know. It's just full of the Lion Bridge compensation.
Man, I went to the store and I couldn't find the compensation on the shelves anymore. I wanted some more of that.
I had to buy a keg of compensation. No, I haven't even opened it, guys.
No, so the first try will be the three of us right here, hopefully in a few weeks, maybe a month and a half.
Yep.
It'll just depend on how all
maybe
that.
Even sooner as far as when we can try it for the first time. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the beauty
all
of it.
in good time.
Yeah.
The beauty of it is we get to decide. The other thing that we get to decide today is we're going to be drafting players. We're going to kind of take after the internet trend, and we've got a grid. We're going to put this up on the screen here. We've got a grid of all-time great Vikings players, and each of us is going to be given an imaginary $15 allowance, and we have to create our all-time lineup: 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. For under $15. So we'll put this up here. I'm going to quickly run through the grid for those that are listening.
You should probably say just quickly how you put it together, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because you didn't just throw pictures on it.
Yeah, I didn't just randomly pick random Vikings. I went to Pro Football Reference. If you've never been to that website before and you're into any sort of NFL stats, we would highly recommend it. But Pro Football Reference has what they call approximate value, and their description is it's their attempt to attach a single number to every player and season since 1960. And so it's basically just taking everything that a player has done and boiling it down to one number. The higher the number, the better the player. So for each position, I just took the highest AV players, with a few exceptions, just to kind of mix things up a little bit, and just basically ranked them from best to not worst, but highest to lowest on this system. So we'll quickly run through the list, and then I'll explain the draft that we're going to do. So in the quarterback category, we have Fran Tarkenton for $5, Dante Culpepper for $4, Kirk Cousins for $3, Brett Favre for $2, and Sam Darnold for $1.
Okay. Specifically the Vikings version of Sam Darnold?
Yes.
Probably just the Vikings version of all of these.
The Vikings version of all of these players, regardless of what team they've played on outside of Minnesota. Running backs, we have Adrian Peterson at $5, Chuck Foreman for $4, Robert Smith $3, Dalvin Cook $2, and Michael Bennett number $1.
What a throwback.
$1. I shouldn't say number $1.
Yeah, didn't he get in some trouble?
Yeah, he went to prison for a little bit.
I don't want to say what I think it was because I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to, talk bad about somebody.
He was a pretty decent running back in his time with the Vikings, so that's all we care about here.
Sure.
We've got 2 wide receiver categories, and this one was kind of a toss-up, so it doesn't really matter, like wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. It's just wide receivers. We've got Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Justin Jefferson, Sammy White, Anthony Carter, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Jake Reed, Percy Harvin, Sidney Rice.
Okay. And importantly, you read that in order from 5, 4, 3, 2.
5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. So Chris Carter and Randy Moss are both worth $5. Justin Jefferson, Sammy White, both worth $4, and so on. And then in the tight end category, we have Steve Jordan for $5, Kyle Rudolph $4, Visante Shenko $3. That's always a mouthful to say.
Visante.
Yeah.
Visante. I thought there was a TH.
It is. I think it's pronounced officially Visante.
Visante, okay.
But it looks like Visanth.
Yeah.
And maybe he will see this and give us the full correction on how to say his name.
I think it's Visanth. When I was doing my research on it,
that's what it looks like. That's how it looks like it's said.
Anyway. Perfect opportunity to remind any Vikings player out there, past or present, you're always welcome on the Skol app.
Oh, I would take Shenko.
And so, Shenko, if you want to come on and tell us how to pronounce
Importantly, please be appropriately dressed when you do come on. Forrest, I'll let you know what I mean by that later.
I don't know if I want to know.
Shenko, let's finish this out.
Yeah, sorry.
Shenko, $3. Jimmy Kleinsasser, $2. TJ Hawkinson, $1. I struggled with TJ and Jimmy Kleinsasser. I was like, well, TJ, I don't know, maybe $2, but he's just still so young, and he didn't start his career with the Vikings. Kleinsasser, I think, spent his whole career with the Vikings and was just a stud, and not just a pass-catching tight end, which he did some of, but man, he was good.
Importantly, a lot of these players, and that's the way that it goes in the NFL, a lot of these players played for more teams than just the Vikings.
So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go draft order, which I thought would make it a little more interesting too, so it's not just like, oh yeah, I picked Dante Culpepper as my starting quarterback too. Yeah. Once a player is taken, they're off the board, and the remaining players have to take somebody else. You can start in any category.
And our cap is $15.
$15, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
So we're going to start with Forrest over here.
Wow,
we're going to go
lucky
in
number 1.
We're going to go in reverse alphabetical order by first name is what I started with. So Forrest, Evan, Austin, and then we're just going to snake it. So then you'll get 2 back to back. We'll go back this way. You'll get 2 back to back, and we'll just go until we've each picked 5 players, 1 in each category.
So you answered one of my questions, which was like the order. We're not specifically like, this is the quarterback round. We're just going to go.
No. So Forrest can start wherever he wants, and then we'll just riff off of that from there.
Another question I had, which we can decide together, this wide receiver category, we have 10 of them. You have them in 2 different rows. Can we just pick
I had that
any
thought.
of them?
I had that thought, and I think yes. As long as you pick 2 wide receivers, it doesn't matter which column you pick from. So, for example, Chris Carter and Justin Jefferson are in the first wide receiver column. So if you're watching it, you'll see that. If somebody wants to spend $9 and take both of them, they could. That's fair. But then you would not. Then you would not get a wide receiver from the other wide receiver.
Yeah, you just get a cap of. You have to fill 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and 1 tight end.
Got it. Everybody clear on the rules?
I think so.
All right.
Can I Does someone want to trade up for like $2?
Yeah, that's pretty genius. I'm going to decline.
Just throwing it out there.
I'm also going to decline,
Okay.
and I'm going to stick you with the first pick.
Okay. Well, I have looked at this a lot, and I think the right move is to take Mr. Randy Moss.
All right.
Okay, so Forrest is going to select Randy Moss for $5. You've got $10 left.
Oh,
So
tons.
I do want to say, how crazy is the Vikings wide receiver history specifically?
Yeah.
That Stephon Diggs and Percy Harvin could both be had for a grand total of $3. Like that's kind of wild.
That is insane.
all right, well, I guess that's me. So I'm going to go with. I'm going to start with a quarterback, even though you don't have to. I'm gonna say Dante.
Dang. Okay.
I want him because I want a solid quarterback who can do it all, and I don't necessarily want to spend $5 on Fran Tarkenton.
Yeah, that is tough. Fran might be the best Vikings quarterback of all time, specifically Vikings, but that's still quite a bit of money for a $15 budget. So with my first pick, oh man, there's some that I think I could sneakily grab and still be way better. I'm just going to do it so I don't get screwed out of it. I'm going to take Brett Favre.
All right,
$2.
I like that pick. Here you go.
I did not see you taking that as your first pick.
You get to pick again.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So you're up again.
All right.
Since we're snaking it back this way now. So to recap really quick, first round, Randy Moss, Dante Culpepper, Brett Favre off the board.
And for the fourth pick, I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook
I wondered if you'd do that.
for $2. That's a pretty good value.
You're
because
going.
he
You're
kind
going.
of flamed out.
He's kind of doing like a budget here.
Well,
like,
we'll see. We'll see.
okay,
We'll see.
you know, you get no bonus points for having extra money at the end.
Oh, that wasn't
yeah,
part of the rules?
No, just throwing it out there.
All right. So that puts me again here. And I will say that I'm going to take. This is a tough one. And I know what I want to do. I don't know that I'm going to do it. But I kind of want.
None of us are in your head right now.
I'm going to do it. I'm taking Adrian Peterson.
All right.
For $5.
Maybe the best.
Man,
Viking.
already $9 invested.
Yep.
Okay,
Those are pretty solid picks, though. Dante Culpepper and Adrian Peterson. Can you imagine?
That'd be awesome.
And you're almost guaranteed. Yeah, you're gonna end up with a solid team there.
I don't think anybody can end up with a not.
I was gonna say
that's
this
true.
is like all good players.
That's
so.
true.
All right, and Forrest, you're up. You
All
get
right,
2 picks back
I'm
to back.
gonna go to the Michigan boy, Anthony Carter.
All right, there you go.
Wow,
$3.
I would have bet money that he wouldn't have gotten picked. Not that he's bad. Just
I mean, I remember him in the NFL, but I watching him in the college, probably more on recordings. But still,
yeah. Hey, well, and he's Michigan. The ties there.
Yep.
I didn't know that. So now is it back to Forrest?
Back to Forrest again because we're snaking back this
all
way.
right. So I've invested $8. So I have 7 left. Considering you guys have already locked in with your QB, I'm going to let that one slide. And I will take.
You've got your pick of running backs too. Really and tight ends, but
I'm just not in love with the running backs left, mainly because I don't know 2 of them very well, and then Michael Bennett. I'm going to hold off on that one. So I am going to go with Kyle Rudolph.
Oh,
interesting.
nice.
Okay.
I like that pick.
That's a
actually.
solid pick. Although I get that you're not a Vikings fan, so you're not too well versed with, Chuck Foreman and dang it, what's his first name?
Who? Robert Smith.
Robert Smith. I'm ashamed. I'm so sorry to every
He
Vikings
had
fan
his
out
jersey
there.
hanging right behind me
Oh my goodness.
for the longest time on this podcast.
Although Robert Smith, is it the Ohio State of it all that you didn't want Robert Smith?
Probably.
Okay.
Well,
can see
I mean,
that.
Michael Bennett, I think, is from Wisconsin.
Is he? I
Wisconsin.
didn't know
So,
that.
yep.
All right, Ev, you're up.
All right, so I've got $9 out, which means I have $6 left. I haven't picked a wide receiver or a tight end. I'm going to go, as controversial as this will be, I'm going to go Stephon Diggs.
Interesting. Okay.
That's actually, I was...
And I'll just point out really quick, this picture is the Minneapolis Miracle picture.
Yep.
So we're just going to roll with that, and I don't think much else needs to be said about him as a player for the Vikings. Yes, drama off the field. Yes, a lot of cryptic tweets and stuff, even with his other franchises that he's been a part of.
He's never been happy.
No, he's somewhat discontent, but
have you seen?
He was a heck of a player.
For a second there was people talking like, "Oh yeah, the Vikings could re-sign Diggs in free agency this year." No, absolutely not. Just like the Jets aren't going to sign Sam Darnold. No,
nope.
We've done that.
Nope.
We don't need that. All right, so it's my pick again. I paid $2 for Favre and $2 for Dalvin Cook.
You got a lot of money in the bank.
Absolute steal. So I've got $11 left. I need 2 wide receivers and a tight end. I'm going to go with Chris Carter.
I don't know why you wouldn't go with Chris Carter at this point.
Chris Carter?
Joking. The best Vikings wide receiver of all time as things sit right now.
Yeah.
Specifically Vikings.
To contribute to the Vikings. Now, Randy Moss maybe has slightly better career stats in some categories as it relates to his entire career. But in terms of what was produced for the Vikings wearing the purple and gold, Chris Carter is the gold standard. He is the best receiver in franchise history. So, yes, I like that pick a lot. And you get to go again because we're snaking it back this way.
All right, I'm going to do it too. Come on, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that.
So that puts me at $2 left, correct?
$2 left, which means
2, 4, 9, and then
so you
13. So I have $2 left.
You have 2 options for your tight end.
All right, Ev, you're up.
Okay. So I need another wide receiver and I need a tight end. I could really force your hand right now with tight ends if I
knew
wanted
what I was
to.
doing.
All right, that's fair. I also need another wide receiver, and I have, $9, $10, $11 spent, so I have $4 left, which kind of forces my hand, too, a little bit. All right. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take TJ.
All right.
At tight end. I want TJ because I think even though I made this grid, I told you guys a minute ago, I was a little on the fence about TJ and Jimmy Klein-Saucer. If I put them, where they are. I probably could have and maybe should have in hindsight put TJ at the $2 mark and Jimmy Klein-Saucer at the $1 mark. I think Jimmy Klein-Saucer is like the consummate Viking. Like you think about guys that just are emblematic of the franchise. He's the guy. But TJ is still young, very productive. I think he's got a bright future still with the Vikings, and he's already contributed in a lot of good ways. So I'm going to take him at $1.
And importantly, I think there's no shame in saying TJ Hawkinson and Jimmy Klein-Saucer, they both played /play tight end, but they play very different versions of the tight end position.
Oh, yes.
One, Klein-Saucer was in one of the previous eras. He was a consummate Viking, like you just said, but he was more a guy that would also line up at fullback just as much as tight end. And Hawkinson, while he's got blocking ability, he's definitely more of the receiving tight end. Lately, he's been more of the injured tight end, but he'll bounce back. I think they're perfectly fine being compared to each other, but also like shaking hands with each other because they're two very different guys.
Yep. All right, so I've got 4 picks. You've got 4 picks. Forrest, you got your last 2 picks right now.
Which you've kind of locked me into because I can't do a $3.
It's true.
So, Forrest, you have...
So I basically have locked into Michael Bennett.
At running back.
At running back. And then I'm going to take J.J. McCarthy for 50 cents.
We are not going to allow that. He may end up being the best Vikings quarterback of all time, which is crazy to say right now. He's never taken a snap for the team in the regular season. But, yeah.
How about this? We'll cut you a deal. You can have Sam Darnold for $1.
It sounds like I'm getting a little
2024 Sam Darnold. That's not bad. That's pretty good value.
Who am I getting fleeced for?
Yeah. So I've locked in obviously with Sam Darnold on just technicality, really.
Yep.
Not that that's a bad pick. I mean, he had an outstanding year last year. So
yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
All right, Evan. You've got one more pick, right?
I've got one more, and I think, let me do my math really quick, $9, $11, $12. So I have $3 to spend. I'm going to spend it on the guy that played opposite of Diggs quite a bit because they were just a great tandem. I'm going with Adam Thielen, and I'm going to hit my budget right at $15.
There you go.
Right?
And a solid team, a solid pick.
Or no, I think I came in at $14.
Well, let's do the math quick.
9, 10, 11... No, I came at 15.
All right. So I'm pretty well locked in, too. I have exactly $2 and one more position that I need. Even if all of them were the same price between Steve Jordan, Visante Shenko, and Jimmy Kleinsasser, I would still pick Jimmy Kleinsasser. Okay. And that's not disrespecting either of the other two guys because they're both great Vikings in their own right. But Kleinsasser might be the greatest Viking of all time. I think we talked about that 40 episodes ago.
Yeah, so. When we were in episode 40, because that was his name. And yeah, we definitely spent a good amount of time talking about him. So I don't disagree with that pick, and I don't know that any of us can feel terrible about these lineups. Let's quickly run down who we've got just from quarterback on the left to tight end on the right. Run through your list there, Forrest.
So I have Mr. J.J. McCarthy. Oh. No, Sam Darnold.
J.J. McCarthy's mentor.
Yes. Michael Bennett for running back. I have Anthony Carter and Randy Moss for wide receiver, and then Cal Rudolph for tight end.
Which is interesting, because as a Bears fan, there's probably at least a couple names on this grid that you weren't familiar with at all, right?
I every name I have, I'm familiar with. There was, like I think I was saying earlier, I knew all the wide receivers. I had to look up, I think, your two running backs that actually weren't taken on this board, and then the tight ends were probably I knew Rudolph and Hawkinson, but not really familiar with the other three. So,
and that's what I was getting at. The team you ended up with, and it kind of shook out. Not all of it was under your control. The team you ended up with is a team of players that you're at least decently familiar with.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so my lineup consisted of Dante Culpepper, and I would just have to say I think he's my favorite quarterback of all time. Yeah, we've got his autographed jersey over there.
He was our first favorite quarterback, probably.
Yeah, he definitely was
Cunningham
mine.
might have been.
I mean, the whole
Doodle,
thing that was awesome. What a fun era. So Dante at quarterback for $4. Then I took Adrian Peterson at $5, and I was a little nervous at how the rest of it would shake out, because I spent $9 boom right away. But I know the importance of having a good quarterback and a good running back, and prime Adrian Peterson for the Vikings was unstoppable. So I knew when he was still there, I had to pick him up. Then I went with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen for wide receivers, and TJ Hawkinson at tight end. Again, I can't really complain. Maybe not the best era of receivers. I maybe could have improved a little bit in the receiver game, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it and roll with it.
Solid team. My team, I believe, please silently double check and correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have to be silent about correcting me, but I'm pretty sure I have the most Hall of Famers on my team.
Ooh, okay.
Which is not exactly what I was going for when I was picking.
Already Hall of Famers, or are you including future
current Hall of Famers?
Okay. Current Hall of Famers.
So obviously quarterback, yes, he only had one good Vikings year, another terrible Vikings year, and the rest he was a Jet or a Packer. But my quarterback, Brett Favre, pretty good 2009. I mean, very memorable. One of the top seasons of my fanhood for sure, because I was a little young for 98 and all the other ones. So
I do have a fun story about the 2009 season and the playoffs after you finish this.
Okay.
It's funny though.
So my quarterback, Brett Favre, a running back, Dalvin Cook, who very electric, easily top 5 Vikings running backs of all time.
Yeah.
Probably top 3. Yeah, very good. And then I landed the GOATs of wide receivers. I'm missing Randy Moss, but I do have Chris Carter and future Hall of Famer, probably, if he keeps up what he's doing now, Justin Jefferson, which we kind of joked about before we started actually drafting. If you wanted to spend $9, you could get both of those, and I ended up getting it. And then my tight end was, I'm pretty stoked to get Jimmy Kleinsasser. Again, maybe one of the best Vikings all around when you consider everything on the field, off the field, storyline, person-wise, maybe the best Viking of all time.
So something I was interested in, and then I'll tell my story, was to see which players would be left on the board between the three of us, because this is a 5x5 grid, so there are 25 players, and there are 3 of us picking 5 players each, so there are 10 players that are still left on the board. So I'll just recap the ones left on the board if you're still listening and you're not able to watch, just because it's interesting to see who wasn't taken.
Yeah.
So in the quarterback column, Fran Tarkenton, not taken. Greatest quarterback in Vikings history. I don't know that many people could argue that.
I mean, statistically, tenure
and longevity, and he did it 2 different times. He started with the Vikings, went to the Giants, came back. He is a Hall of Famer.
I'm hoping JJ usurps him when we're all said done here in the next 20 years. But yeah, you can't really argue that point.
And also left on the board, Kirk Cousins. And I don't know that that's because nobody likes him. I think that was just because he isn't necessarily as good as the other guys on the board, at least to us.
That one you could argue 2 or 3 where he lists as far as an overall Vikings career. Yeah, Favre was great. Darnold were great. They were both essentially one and done.
But Kirk had the longevity with the organization to really rack up some meaningful stats. So anyways, those are your 2 quarterbacks in the category. Running backs, Chuck Foreman and Robert Smith. We weren't alive for the Chuck Foreman days, but of course we know how good they were. He was a heck of a back.
Yeah.
And it was in the days when you relied on your running game more than the NFL does now. So no shade thrown to him at all. And then Robert Smith as well, who, I mean, we've had his signed jersey in the background of this set before. He was a really good back too, and I think he wisely ended his career on his terms rather than prolong anything and make matters worse for himself, which I think some of us as fans were like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, dang it. Chuck Foreman, pretty sure he follows us on Twitter.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, shout out to Chuck Foreman. Percival Harvin.
William J. Percival Harvin III. I think I'm wrong on the J, but I'm right on everything else.
I think you have it right on the third. I think
he's the third for sure. Yeah.
I'm pretty
Very
sure
electric.
I saw something recently in an interview with somebody. He admitted that he never played a game not high.
What? No way!
Does that include his collegiate career at Florida?
Probably. That probably goes back to high school. I'm shocked. No, he really was a great.
He was an electric player.
He was a firecracker, though. Literally every time he touched the ball, he could have scored a touchdown.
Yep.
Whether
he definitely had playmaking ability.
And strong. I'll never forget. There's one play where a linebacker went to tackle him and basically just shoved his shoulders, and Percy basically laid down, but then stood right back up, never touched the ground, and then I don't know if he scored a touchdown. Dude was strong.
Yeah,
he couldn't get out of his own way though.
Yep. So Percy Harvin, Sammy White, Jake Reed, and Sidney Rice. Sammy White again was kind of an era that we're not alive for as Vikings fans, so it's tough to really have that personal connection with him as fans, but we know that he was really good, and again played it just in a different era. Jake Reed always played second and or third fiddle to Carter and Moss in that mid 90s, late 90s era.
He still put up some numbers.
But he was still super good. And that was really when the NFL started to air it out. They were going to this air raid offense style, and running backs were not as useful, still useful, but quarterbacks were throwing a million times a game, and receivers were racking up all sorts of catches and yards. Sidney Rice, he was really, I think, only that memorable during the Brett Favre.
Yeah, he was a product of Brett Favre. He was good, but injury prone, never really did anything until or after Brett Favre was a Viking, but definitely got a decent payday in Seattle because of that 2009 season.
Yeah. And then in the tight end category, Steve Jordan and Visante Shenko.
However you say it, I might be wrong.
Shenko, who also flourished when Favre was there, and then was kind of a no-name before and after that.
Forrest, I'm just going to tell you now, Shenko is famous because he was in the background of what was a locker room video or interview with a different player. Shenko was in the locker room.
I think I remember hearing about that. So
he's a very gifted man, like a scary gifted man. Like I didn't understand. Oh my gosh! Like I
can't believe you don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I mean, I just fumble over it. Like I can't believe there's someone built like that.
So fun.
Sorry, I'm drooling.
We're gonna move on from that. Here's my funny story really quick about the 2009 year with Brett Favre. Obviously, if you've been a Vikings fan, you know. Went to the NFC Championship game, lost to the Saints, Bounty Gate, the whole thing. So my daughters have been playing this game with me. Like when we're in the car, they'll throw two random teams and say, which one would you rather have, Dad? So they love to do like, well, okay, Vikings or Packers? And I'm like, guys,
obviously, come on.
Yeah. It's the Vikings. It's never going to be the Packers. Okay, Packers or Bears?
I hope the asteroid hits the stadium.
Because I hate the Packers. Wow. So then they know some of the other teams. So I think one of them was like, Broncos or Saints? And I'm like, ooh, that's a tough one, because right now the Broncos have a coach that coached for the Saints, and they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, when he was the coach for the Saints, he did some bad things, and I don't really like that. And they're like, well, what did he do? And I kind of told them, I'm like, well, he told his players to go hurt people for money, and it was pretty bad. And then he got in trouble for it, and he got a timeout from the league. He couldn't coach for a whole year. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, so next time I give you a timeout, just remember, I could give you a timeout for a whole year. But anyways, my youngest daughter goes, wow, that was really bad. Dad, we should pray for him right now. So that's what we did. We stopped and prayed for Sean Payton in the car.
Oh, man. Well, that's very sweet of your daughter.
You're a bigger man, obviously.
You were muttering other words under your breath as they were praying for him, weren't
Probably.
you?
Yeah. Probably. But anyways, that was a fun story. Also, fun game. I really enjoyed that. Something that we might have to come back to at some point. Some iteration of that. Not
Absolutely.
the same thing.
So there's one thing that podcast friend of the show, the Mainstream podcast, they do a draft every episode. That's kind of where we took this from. It's also like a thing that a lot of people are doing. But what they also do is with their draft, they post up the individual results of the draft and on socials, I think really Facebook, because you can have different reactions. Like instead of liking it, you can love something or care it or whatever. And they have people vote with their reactions. I mean, it might take a few minutes to put together, but I wonder if we can throw out our own little Skol Hot post and have people vote on who they think have the best draft.
Yeah, we can definitely throw that out there. What we'll also do is maybe we can post a blank grid of this, and then if you want to participate too, you can draft your own players.
Absolutely.
And you can definitely pick whoever you want off the grid, but you could drop those in the comments.
No, you can't. J.J. McCarthy was not on the board.
On the grid.
Well, 5 years from now, maybe he's on the grid.
Yeah, he will cost $5.
Yeah,
I would
he might
pay
be
$10 for J.J. McCarthy.
You'd have $5 left for the rest of your team.
I don't care.
He would lift up the team.
Dude is a winner.
Hey, I'm with you. I want you to be right.
This is like the most excited you're ever going to see me about the Vikings here.
You're wearing a McCarthy jersey under that sweatshirt, aren't you?
I really am not.
Vikings McCarthy. I can see it, dude. Don't lie. No, just because you're being recorded, you don't have to lie.
There's a Michigan football shirt under here, but
well, we will post a lot of things out there and allow you to participate in those. Not allow you. We
ask you.
Yeah, we want you to participate. We invite you to participate. Send us your $15 draft, whoever you would pick, and spend $15 on if you were given the choice. And vote on ours, too. We'll take the final version of what we did today, and if you like Forrest's, we'll put it in the description somewhere, some particular reaction for Forrest's, if you think his is the best, if you think mine's the best, or if you think Austin's is the best. Give us a vote and we'll see who wins. Could be fun. All right, well, we have this imaginary third segment here, and I think we should just really quickly circle back around to the football topics that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. There hasn't been a ton of news.
A lot of rumors, and a lot of baseless rumors, too. More like, what if this happened?
Right.
One that I think is hilarious lately is apparently the Vikings, they're not, but apparently they were rumored to be interested in trading for Matt Stafford, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, one, if you're going to do anything at quarterback other than J.J. McCarthy, you just try to sign Sam Darnold, who just proved that he gave you a pretty good year, even though he fell apart. Matt Stafford, he's old, going to be older, going to be expensive, probably still not, totally done yet, but that just doesn't make any sense Vikings-wise. I think people are only saying it because of Kevin O'Connell and their Rams year.
But like I said, once again, what are you doing with JJ if you're signing?
Exactly.
Because even Sam Darnold, you're not signing him for 1 year. I mean, he's going to demand multi-year now, and as he should, because I want to bring up another after we get done talking about this because it kind of correlates. So,
yeah, but I think the obvious what will happen is JJ McCarthy, unless for some reason he's not healthy, and the reports we're getting that he's already practicing and like running around the football field are just fake. Unless that's, him being healthy is all a lie. JJ McCarthy is QB1. Like, Vikings fans, that's where we are. If they franchise tag Sam Darnold, it's so that they can trade him. It's JJ McCarthy, and then the question is, who is QB2? That's at least how I view it, and I can't really wrap my head around any other talking point for quarterback for the Vikings.
Right. You said you had another thought?
Yeah, I just was. So I read an article on the Wall Street Journal today on how basically the quarterback, position is kind of dried up, especially this year. You look at free agency. I mean, you have Sam Darnold. Who else do you have? Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers.
Kirk Cousins might be available.
Kirk Cousins could be. I mean, and they're thinking he will be. But so you look at those names, and then you look at the draft, the names that are coming for the draft this year, and it's underwhelming compared to last year, or the last several years, I'd say. So it was a well-written article, I can't remember who wrote it, but put a lot of thought into of what do teams like, the Tennessee Titans, who had the first overall draft, who desperately need a quarterback, but they may not use their first pick for a quarterback.
And that's why the likes of Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins are both probably going to get $30+ million a year.
Agreed. You know how we were talking how Sam Darnold kind of blew, he probably lost at least $10 million, and he might have lost a little bit, but I think now looking at who is available, I think he's going to still make a ton of money.
Yeah, for sure. The quarterback carousel in this league is never not entertaining. Sorry for the double negative, but it's just not. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 years ago, if it's last year, if it's this year, if it's 5 years from now. There will always be drama surrounding the quarterback position because the NFL has a supply and demand issue with quarterbacks, and that's because the supply is less than the demand.
Yeah.
Yep.
And because of that, I'm going to drop a hot take. We did some hot takes on episode 80 last week.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop a hot take, and it's going to be a vague one that I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I was right, even though it's pretty wide open. I think we're going to see some form of a blockbuster trade for a quarterback to swap a quarterback from one team to another that we're not expecting. Like something like, I feel like we wouldn't be super shocked if Matt Stafford got traded, but like Justin Herbert or somebody else, somebody like that who's pretty good that we wouldn't expect. Some other team is going to offer another team kind of a franchise-altering offer that you can't really refuse for a pretty good Pro Bowl-worthy quarterback that we're not expecting, and that's my hot take. I'm just going to say that right now.
You're not going to get any more specific?
I'd love you to at least narrow down to... I've heard 2 names from you. I'd love to hear like a top 3 of who you think those quarterbacks are.
I mean, who are the top quarterbacks in the league right now? Like, you got Joe Burrow, who that would be crazy shocking. I don't think Mahomes is ever really going to go anywhere.
I can't see Mahomes going.
But I think a guy like Justin Herbert.
That name is intriguing.
I think... I mean, shoot, I'm blanking. I think Kyler Murray could be had for the right price. I think throw some quarterback names at me right now. Matt Stafford, I really wouldn't be shocked if he's traded, but that's why I'm saying that's not a part of this.
Yeah, I don't even know if a guy like Prescott, with his massive amount of money that he's making in Dallas and his injury history, but yeah, that even would be a name.
Trevor Lawrence, and maybe that wouldn't even be super shocking, but like something like that. I think I'm thinking along the lines of someone like Justin Herbert.
Okay.
I have to interrupt here because I have a blockbuster trade of my own. I just cracked a different beer.
Oh man,
that I brought, and I didn't tell you guys
We're not cheating on Lion Bridge today, are we?
No, we are. We have another Lion Bridge beer.
Oh, okay.
Man.
And this is, I bought extra because, when the 3 of us are together, we can put down 6, no problem.
What?
So I got some more. This is the Spice Must Flow. So this is the Lion Bridge episode. We're going all in on Lion Bridge beer.
We
here.
like Lion Bridge.
It's their black ale, maple, cinnamon, and melange. You guys need to finish your compensation because that's really good. But holy buckets, is there some flavor in
that
this
smells
beer?
good.
It is so good. I just tried it. I really want you guys to try it. Have you had this one, Forrest?
I don't know if I've had this one.
It's got a good smell to it.
Black ale with these spaces.
And yeah, black ale, you can see it's black. It is pitch black. So try this out. The maple.
Oh, that maple comes through as you kind of expect. And I'm kind of glad that you're not overpowered right away with the cinnamon because cinnamon beers, man, some of them I had are just way too powerful. Cinnamon's just an extreme spice. So if it's well balanced, it's good. But
I would say it's pretty well balanced. I want you to try it, though. I want to know your thoughts.
Very different from what the compensation.
Oh, yes. It's like night and day different.
How did I get more head on mine than you did?
I poured it up a minute ago. Mine was about that way.
Weird.
Talk about black. That's crazy. Very good flavor. Maple for sure. Like if you didn't tell me anything else about this beer and just said, hey, take a sip. Yeah, that maple for sure. I don't know what melange is.
Do you know?
I am not sure.
Let's look it up.
Yeah, this is really good.
That maple is fantastic, and I'm a big fan of maple and beer. Well done, though. I know I haven't had this. I would have remembered that type of flavor.
I think it's some sort of herbal thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
So it might be cutting some of that sweetness.
It's a mixture, a medley, a mixture of tender vegetables and herbs. What does melange mean?
So it makes the beer healthy, is what you're telling me.
There we go.
Maybe not vegetables, but it's a mixture of things. It's
Healthy
definitely
vegetables.
a mixture
You
of
get your
maple.
vitamin A and vitamin C in this bad boy, or what?
Definitely a mixture of maple and cinnamon.
Well done, Lion Bridge
what else
again.
is in this melange? I don't know. But yeah, it's just it's packed with flavor, and it's called the Spice Must Flow. I think it's a pretty good name for the beer because the spices are flowing.
Yeah, this might be one of my favorites from Lion Bridge.
It's good. It's got a
super
lot
good.
of flavor.
It's
and
super good.
as soon as I took that first sip, I was like, whoa,
Yep.
this is
The
good.
smell alone was intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk about the compensation being a beer's beer, that darker, the English mild ale, definitely a beer's beer. This one is like an experience. It's still
Yes.
really good beer, but they're very different in great ways.
It's a mouthful of different things going on with the dark aromas of the black, and you get that more than malty. It's not. It's roasty. Roasty is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure.
And but that I love that maple. It's not overpowering, but it lingers. It lingers.
I think it's kind of like, for me, it'd be a really good like Christmas time beer.
Yeah,
I can see that. I know Lion Bridge does, I think, like a winter warmer, more along those lines. So, but this is great.
Yeah, I will seek really both of them out, but this Spice Must Flow, yeah, I'll seek that out for sure.
Yeah, both really good. Lion Bridge, we've had you before. We've actually been there before too.
Yeah.
Really cool spot in Cedar Rapids. Great beer.
It's a fantastic brewery. Fantastic spot in Cedar Rapids. Their food is really good too. So
Did we eat there?
We didn't eat
No.
there. So we just had
their
beer.
food is phenomenal.
All right, now we have a mission.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Beer trip
we
year
do,
2.
We do need to start talking about our brew hop version 2.0.
Somewhere around episode 100. That's what we're aiming for. We're not going to promise anything,
Yeah.
but that's the goal.
Which is looking like June, July-ish time
Somewhere in there.
frame. Yeah.
Yep,
I'm
summertime.
excited. Can't wait.
So, any last thoughts on football before we kind of wrap that conversation up? Sorry, I awkwardly shifted us away.
Oh, yeah.
But
No, it was-
Shame
it was
on
a
you for
good-
interrupting with another beer.
a really good beer.
All I have to say is Combine is happening this week.
Yep.
The first day I think is tomorrow. So as we're releasing the episode, that's when the rumors start coming out because conversations are kind of happening backdoor. Players are getting an idea of what value they're going to get in free agency. I'm just really excited for actual news and not Matt Stafford might go to the Vikings ridiculous type headlines, because I just want substance that you can actually believe. Whether or not it actually happens, I just want real news.
If you remember, it was the Combine last year when the illegal tampering happened with Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah.
Going to the Falcons. So, yeah, you're definitely correct in that this is when the off-season news cycle really starts to percolate. And it doesn't necessarily, like, explode yet, but things are coming. And as Vikings fans, we get excited with each little tidbit that we get down the line. So, should be good. Any last thoughts from you, football-wise?
No, I think I understand with Combine and it's exciting for obviously free agency. I always look forward to the draft. College football is my jam, and so I always look forward to that. I know we got a few months, but
We're ramping up.
Draft is in Green Bay this year. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's dumb. How are they going to do it? Like that, you need internet to post. Like, the somebody picked this guy, and they're not going to. They might have dial up there. I don't know. It's Green Bay. Like the Green Bay sucks. That's what I'm.
they have good beer.
They do have really good beer.
Why do you always have to make good points for us?
All right. Well, you know who else has good beer is Lion Bridge. We've tried 2 of their beers tonight. We tried Compensation, which is a mild English ale. Really straightforward, easy drinking, malty, roasty, caramely.
I like to describe it as like a pub ale. Just something you just sit down at the bar and the bartender just gives you a beer. That's a beer that he knows almost everyone's gonna like.
I feel like the Compensation, it could be both your first beer of the night and your last beer of the night.
Good call.
Just get it started, and then just one more before you go home. It's a good beer. It's a solid beer without being too much.
And then we are currently finishing with the Spice Must Flow, which is a black ale, and it's got a lot of maple and cinnamon flavors in what I would say is a melange, apparently, from the can.
We're going to have to reach this a little
Word
bit more.
of the day, melange.
Word of the day. I could be pronouncing that entirely
It's
wrong.
melange, dude.
Melange.
Melg.
It's like one of those words that everybody knows it's pronounced this way, and I pronounced it the wrong way.
Chameleon.
This is the episode where we have so many mispronunciations between players' names and
yeah.
ingredients.
Good old
yeah.
Visant.
Visante.
Favre.
Anyways, 2 really good beers both from Lion Bridge Brewing. So shout out to them for making some really good beer. Thank you guys for that. Shout out to Forrest too for being on 3 weeks.
I
in a
know.
row.
Thank you so much. I really do. I enjoy it just listening to the podcast. Enjoy once in a while coming on. So
Yeah. And you're welcome anytime.
Yeah.
we'll make it happen, like you said. When it's time for beer tasting, I'll come back on. So
And that may match up right around draft time too.
could.
But you're definitely a college football guy. You know these guys coming in. So.
And that's what happened last year. So I think we found a nice little groove here,
Yep.
Get that beer brewed in February, and then
Oh no, you have to brew a beer with us every year at least. So
then we can try it around draft time and enjoy it.
So I will say once again, needs a name for the beer. So
we need the
anyone
perfect name.
listening.
if you've
Come
got
up,
anything,
throw some ideas out.
there's
let us
going to be
know.
the name that we all hear and collectively like immediately look at each other like,
that's the one.
ding ding, we found it. We haven't found it yet. So
We'll get there.
we'll
We've
get
got
there.
some time. The
Yep.
beer's still fermenting, and so you can't name something that's not fully developed yet.
Yep.
And she's working on it.
Well, if our listeners and or viewers have suggestions for the name or really anything to talk about, how can they reach out to us?
A myriad of ways, a melange of ways, I might say. Sorry, I'm an English teacher. I like to play with words. I also like to make this guy laugh a lot. Hit us up in an email, theskolhop@gmail.com. We've got a form on our website, theskolhop.com. You can find us there too. And we've got a, hey, connect with us little thing on there. Drop a comment on the YouTube video or the Spotify episode that you're watching. Pretty much anywhere else too on social media. Just hit us up. We'll likely respond back, especially if you give us a sweet beer name idea for the nut brown ale that we've brewed.
Yeah,
So-
even if it's a joke, we'll take it.
Yeah.
A punny name is awesome. Send us a
I think
bunch of names.
you should have maybe offered something like a shirt or a memorabilia here.
That is true. Well, that is a good point. None of us are rocking Skol Hop merch right now, but we do have some merch on our website. It's really all through a website called
you spoke too
TeePublic.
soon.
Nice. Evan's got one of my favorite designs here. It's black with our Skol logo on it. If you're looking for some Skol Hop merch, check it out. Our website, which is theskolhop.com, there's a merch tab, TeePublic. It's awesome. We don't really get much from it, but it'd be nice to see it out there. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So check us out in all of those places. We would also encourage anybody out there, check out the beer that we try. If you can get your hands on it at your local grocery store or whatever, or if you can make a trip to Cedar Rapids and get Lion Bridge. Probably someday we should post the full list of beers that we've tried.
We could probably do that.
Because we're now 81 episodes in, and we've tried 81 different beers, at least.
Episode 50, we had 12 different beers. So
Yeah. Well, and that's we went to 11 different breweries, and we had flights at some of those, so we tried
we probably tried over 100
I was
beers
gonna say
on the show.
it's fun to look back at what you've tried.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, hit up the breweries. That's one of the reasons we do this, is we want to spread the love. We want to share our experiences with you out there about the great beer that Iowa has to offer. So, check out these Iowa breweries. And we're gonna have more to talk about coming up. We always do. I mean, we sat here for over an hour just talking about our $15 Vikings lineups, which was pretty fun too. So,
and we're coming up here in the next near future. We'll have friend of the show Dustin Baker on again. He kind of said that he might have an opportunity to have another popular Vikings content creator join him when he comes on our show. So I'm looking forward to that. We've got a couple other things brewing. So
yeah, we've got a few things in the works, including beer and some other things.
We have a melange of things going. Was that as funny as it was when you said it a minute ago?
It wasn't.
That hit me. I don't know. It just came out of nowhere too.
Weirdest episode ever.
Austin's gonna go to work tomorrow, and he's gonna try to like slip that word into normal conversation.
So are you, and so is Forrest. So
I teach sophomore English, so I'm just gonna slip it in, and my kids will be like, "I have no idea what he just said," and it'll be fine.
And it'll be funny to you, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that
You
matters.
just better make sure you're pronouncing it right, because one of your kids is going to know exactly what it is.
Mr.
It's actually meringue.
Oh, jeez. Can you imagine? All right, well, we've been circling around the end of this episode for a while, so I think we just need to do it. This was a great episode for us. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks again, guys.
Best episode yet?
Skol.
Skol.
Hail.
Hey Vikings fans, Evan here from the Skol Hop, and we just wanted to say thank you again so much for listening to the Skol Hop, and we also wanted to take one more opportunity to let you know that this episode of the Skol Hop has been brought to you by Big Top Ventures. If you're considering taking an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, reach out to our friends at Big Top Ventures at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Once again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. You can get the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts throughout the region. Big Top Ventures. Step right up to your next big adventure. And thanks again for listening to the Skol Hop.